Welcome to the Daily Autism radio show. This is obviously our radio version of dailyautism.com, which is our 24/7, 365 media channel online, which you are welcome to join, dailyautism.com. You can check out all of our social channels from Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, access to our podcasts, which we've been doing for years, and a variety of other, we got our LinkedIn newsletter, and all of our partners there as well, dailyautism.com. We'd love to connect with you online. Really cool radio show today because we're going to have a conversation, I should say, with Harry Pasaros. He is the author of the new book, From Struggle to Strength, and this is about a father's journey and having a son on the spectrum. That book is available on Amazon. It is out now, From Struggle to Strength. You can't miss it. It's got these two gold boxing gloves, and really a great story behind that and why that was the image for Harry's book. And again, that is on Amazon, From Struggle to Strength. Really fascinating perspective. It's got an edge to it. You'll hear that in Harry. And I think it's kind of a presentation that's not very common in the world for parents who have autistic kids, and so that's why I really appreciate it. It's got an edge. It is a take action message, and it's a very easy listen. He's a very engaging guy, and I really love his story. So we are going to have that conversation here in just about 10 minutes when Harry joins us on the Daily Autism radio show. Get ready for that. Also, some of our partners, I want to thank brand new, and I got to say, I'm really excited about this, and this is Young Foundational Health. You can go to youngfoundationalhealth.com. Dr. Young, a fascinating guy, and we're actually going to have monthly interviews with Dr. Young. This is in Largo, Florida, not far, just down the street from me, but you know, it's really interesting when you look at health, and especially the health of kids with special needs. And you know, special needs the issues arise because of biochemical reasons. And I just love the critical thinking approach that Dr. Young approaches this from. And, you know, you talk about detoxes, you talk about nutrition, and I love the way it's articulated with Young Foundational Health, Nobel Prize winning science. And so they've really been able to give special needs patients their best chance at success. And it's really going to be fascinating, our monthly interviews with Dr. Young. Again, Young Foundational Health, and he has worked with patients dealing with all types of special needs, Down syndrome, autism, genetic diseases. And it's really fascinating how much there is out there that's available and the intervention that's possible. So excited again to have Dr. Young and Young Foundational Health on board the Daily Autism radio show. And, you know, to kind of put a bow on this, the quote from Dr. Young's website, I really appreciate this. We believe healthy cells and a properly functioning immune system form the foundation of the human body. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of research on that, and it's incredible what's out there. It really is. But you got to have it customized. You got to apply critical thinking. And, you know, as they said, and I was reading on their website, you know, every case is so different. So you have to customize a very specific and customized plan. Youngfoundationalhealth.com. We're going to get some great information from them and Dr. Young in the months to come. Really excited for that. Also, Technology North. Ling Huang, he is the CEO of Technology North, and he has really developed an unbelievable process when we talk about young adults on the spectrum and employment. TechnologyNorth.net. Ling really has become a friend of mine, but he has really developed something that I think is going to be a global initiative. There's a great documentary on YouTube. It's called Cliff 20. It's about 25 minutes long. It's obviously free on YouTube. Cliff 20. And it really dives deep into what Ling has done for the community. His son was the inspiration, and as I've always said, if you can be inspired by something like a son or a daughter, you're going to do big things in life and important things in life, and have really purposeful accomplishments, and that's what Ling has done. But we talk about employment for young adults on the spectrum, and the idea that's out there is, well, there's a program here, there's a program there, there's 5 hours a month, and when you really look at results, it's very hollow. There's just not a lot there. But Ling has really taken some action, and what he's done and what he continues to develop is awesome. And like I said, I really believe he's has developed something that's really going to become a global, worldwide initiative and process. So technologynorth.net to learn about Ling, his company, what he's doing, and of course on YouTube, like I said, Cliff 20 is the documentary. I think I've watched that documentary about 10 times now. Once you start watching it, it's impossible to turn off. Also, our friends at the original Krabby Bills, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, talking about the global perspective. I mean, we're at the time of year where everybody's coming to Florida to vacation, to enjoy our beautiful beaches here on the Gulf Coast, and that is where you'll find the original Krabby Bills, Pinellas County, Indian Rocks Beach. They are partners in autism awareness, and so we are deeply appreciative of their partnership. The happy hours, the unbelievable seafood, it's the best grouper on this planet. And I just tell you, the environment, you feel like you're just lost away on some island and you never want to leave. So Krabby Bills, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. Also, Angel Sense. I know everybody has seen the video. Heartbreaking isn't, it just doesn't do the job. Heartbreaking. But the bus in Colorado and the assistant that, this was an autism school. And, the woman has been arrested. And I was talking to somebody and I said, because the parents were noticing injuries for several weeks. They said, what's going on with my kid? What's happening? And I was thinking, Angel Sense is so much more than just GPS tracking. It has the ability to tap in live to the device and hear what's going on in the environment, to actually hear live in real time what's happening. So angelsense.com. It's just fabulous technology, and once you get it, you go, how did I live without it? How did I do that? And so they have a device that can go into a pocket or a backpack. They also have a watch. This is fantastic technology, angelsense.com. But again, so much more than GPS tracking, which is important enough in its own, but the Angel Sense device does so much more. Begin Health and prebiotics for toddlers and kids, growing up prebiotics. We just did a video, and Melissa was making banana bread, and I'm thinking, how can I get prebiotics? I'm trying to get more creative in getting prebiotics into Cal's diet. It is so important for these ASD kids and their tummies. And it's like, how can we get more and more and more? And so she was baking banana bread, and Cal is now experimenting with banana bread. He's taking so we actually put the prebiotics in the banana bread, and it was like totally awesome. So again, dailyautism.com to get our discount. If you're going to get this, you might as well just at least get our discount. But we're absolutely hooked. It is the same molecular structure as breast milk in these prebiotics. And I know everyone says, are you meaning to say probiotics? No, it's different. I didn't know that 3-4 months ago at all, but I've done a lot of research on that too. So dailyautism.com to get the Begin Health prebiotics and get our discount there as well. Also, the Lift Academy in Clearwater, Florida, they are the gold standard. They've got a beautiful new facility in Clearwater. They obviously are open. They're having kids join their school, new children join their school all the time, and over 95% of their students are on a scholarship, and they can help you through that entire process. Yeah, I know more than 95% are utilizing a scholarship. So that's liftfl.org. And they've got just a great message there. You feel it when you go, when you talk to the staff, when you see the families there. You feel the message, to inspire and empower people with neurodiversity to learn, thrive. You just feel it when you go there. So they've done a great job. And again, partners in autism awareness, and we appreciate the Lift Academy. Also, Aeroflow Urology. You may qualify for free diapers, 100% covered by Medicaid. One of the big issues with autistic kids is potty training, and so many kids, 8, 9, 10, 15, and then there are stories where it's just not ever possible. So you need to consider, how are you going to be able to get diapers? into young adulthood or adulthood. And Aeroflow Urology may be able to make that happen for you. If you go to dailyautism.com and click on the Aeroflow Urology link, it takes 2 minutes, and you'll see if you qualify. So I would really recommend doing that now at dailyautism.com. And Fun Factory Sensory Gym. We talk a lot. We opened My Sensory Studio in Seminole, Florida, and this is a place where, we've got dozens of families who have autistic kids, and this is a private play experience. It's a safe place. It's one family at a time. Oftentimes in the big box gym setups, there's triggers, there's chokeable items. There can be an environment that can actually cause more stress for ASD kids. It certainly did for us. So we opened this gym, My Sensory Studio, with the help of Fun Factory Sensory Gym. And again, dailyautism.com. I want you to click on and see all the work they do in installing these in therapy centers and schools and gyms, even homes. So you might be in a situation where it's so hard to leave the home, but you need to have this experience of play, which has helped Cal so much. If you start looking at vestibular systems and how it all works, it's fascinating, but it gets results. So it's very, very important. And we thank them for their partnership at Fun Factory Sensory Gym. Again, get the link at dailyautism.com. They've got incredible videos and incredible, honestly, science behind what they do. They have the videos, and then they'll explain, this is why this does this. This is why we do this. And this is all stuff because, as we know, this entire journey, the way I would articulate it, is mostly about learning. It's mostly about learning and then changing and redirecting your strategies. At least that's how it's been for us. We've had to learn. We've had to make adjustments. And the earlier you can do those type of things, I think the better off the journey, or more productive, I should say, that the journey can be. So, like I said, here in just about a minute, we're going to be joined by Harry Paseros. He's the author From Struggle to Strength. And you can find that book on Amazon. It is available right now. And, in talking to Harry, I think it'd be great if you bought the book, please leave a review. It is so important to those authors, especially a book that has such a great purpose behind it. A book that really means it's meaningful content. I think about all the books I've read in my life, and I think about all the movies I've watched and the things I've lived, like even some of the podcasts I've listened to. I said, gosh, there's no purpose. It was just, I was just doing it to waste time. And then something like this, obviously, that has so much meaning and purpose, I would say, please leave a review. And Harry's a tough guy. He'll whatever the review is, he'll accept it. And so, but please do leave a review. It really helps these authors out that are trying to spread meaningful and purposeful messages. So he's going to join us here in just a second. And again, we're online 24/7, dailyautism.com. And again, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, America's Autism Hotline. All the details, all the information of how to connect are there. I love getting your emails. We get tons of emails a week. We try to get back to them as soon as we possibly can. But please, we'd love to connect with you on dailyautism.com. All right, the book is From Struggle to Strength. It is out. It is ready to go. Harry Paseros is the author. Harry, what's up, my man?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's funny. We've talked on and off, text on and off for a week or so. You're one of these guys. It's like, I feel like maybe we were college roommates. You've kind of got that. You're that type A. You bring it. You know what I mean? And you're just one of those guys. So I've really been looking forward to this.
Anyone that knows me, I'm a dynamic, hardcore, over-caffeinated type A. And when I talk to you on the phone, I'm like, I think I met my twin. So yeah, I can agree with you on that.
Yeah, when you said you were into football, I was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't buy it. How could he ever be into football? Yeah, right. No, you've got that football mentality. All right, well, listen, here's the book. And I just want to launch with this. I guess, I'll throw the punch. Why I think this is so cool. I've been, I've interviewed a lot of authors. I've read a lot of books. A book about autism, being a father, raising an autistic son. Why the boxing gloves?
This is an awesome question, and no one really started with this. So anyways, my book is From Struggle to Strength, A Father's Journey with Autism and the Power of Hope and Positivity. You can't miss it with the gold boxing gloves. What I wanted to do, we have a very difficult journey when we are raising children on the spectrum. And when I was writing the book, half of it is my son's story, and the other half is about mindset. I wanted to bring the warrior's mindset into this book. This is probably not your traditional book on autism. I wouldn't call it soft, because I wanted to wake up fathers that were really dismissing or not working with their wives when it came to the diagnosis. But I have both boxed and I have multiple black belts in Aikido, in Tung Sudo. And I wanted to bring that warrior mentality into raising a child. And I don't mean that in a harsh way, because the overall themes in my book are hope, positivity, and they're both on the cover, on top of grit and resilience. And the point being, when you're in the middle of a fight, and I'm going to get my Tung Sudo fight stance here properly, and if I were to put my guard down, I'm going to get popped in the face or I'm going to get dropped. And the point being, when you have a child on the spectrum, you have to wake up every single day with the determination to make them a better human being, improve. And I talk about it in my book, The 2% Rule, getting them 2% better every day. Think of it as atomic habits on steroids. But you have to have that zeal, that the desire every day to get up, on top of a positive attitude, to really make them the best person that they can be. And I want to note, you and I both know this, I'm not talking about quote unquote curing them. There's no cure for autism. You accept your child for who they are, but every single day you look for improvement, and those improvements lead to greater improvements and eventually exponential improvements. So that's kind of the whole point. So I bring a little bit of grit to the book, and it's done so on purpose.
Yeah, and I think you do hit the mark, and there's an element, for whatever reason, of softness. There's probably a better word out there, but I've talked to so many parents overall, but fathers, and about a year in, they all say the same thing. I've gained weight, I'm tired, I've lost motivation, I don't see my friends anymore, and I was in a bit of a fog as well, so I understand it, but I always ask why. Like, what, you become really the most important person, because your child is going to now need you beyond the word need could ever be explained. Also, I realize now why we get along so well. So black belt, Tang Sudo, I'm a brown belt. I know. Why did I stop at the brown belt in Tang Sudo? Why? So you'll be my motivation to go across the finish line.
There we go.
Yeah, so we've both studied that martial art. You talk about the 2% rule. I thought it was one of the chapter, I believe it's chapter 4 in your book, that's really good. And you talk about your son, Gus, the Home Depot and everything. What can somebody do? Just, we've got a big audience. There's inevitably fathers that are going, okay, what can I get out of this? Give somebody an example that they can do like tonight or tomorrow morning to start the 2% rule. Like give one change that you can give somebody. They've gotten the diagnosis for their child. They're confused. They're stressed out. Maybe their marriage is, confused and kind of in disarray. Give somebody an idea of what the 2% could look like in real life, in their real life.
Sure. And I want to note right off the bat, because I do a lot of speaking locally here in the Pittsburgh area, a lot of fundraisers, things like that. I've had people come up to me and go, wait a minute. Your child's on the mild end. Mine is more moderate to severe. It doesn't apply. And I'm like, no. There's where you need to be a little bit blunt. You can't think myopically. A win is a win is a win. So that could be waking up regardless of where they're at on the spectrum. So I'll give you my example for my son. For the longest time, he was eating, and I discussed this in the book, the beige diet. And all of us are used to this. Chicken nugget after chicken nugget. It could be a social interaction. It could be something like an activity of daily living. Are they properly brushing their teeth, or what are they doing? You're going to hear an interaction with his brother. There's something either correctable or something you could teach every single day. And it's a small win, but these small wins build on top of another. So I would wake up with a mentality, and we'll talk about the whole optimism side of it too, because I think that's important. But I would wake up on a daily basis and go, what is he working on today? What have the therapists been working on? And we're going to enhance that. And we're going to check on it the next day to make sure it's solidified in his head. I mean, I might seem very minor. And I left this off in the book because people would go, wow, that's nothing. But he was doted on. Like we were in that nebulous when he was first diagnosed. And if he needed socks, I'd run up the steps and get socks and things like that. And then one day I looked at him and I said, you're going to go up the steps. You're going to go to your bottom closet. You're going to pick out the socks and come down. And I just waited. And it seems like a nothing burger, but at the time, I have to understand how big this was. I hear the thumping all the way up the steps. and he was fiddling around, and he came down, and it didn't matter to me that they were the wrong color. He had them in his hand. He did something on his own without drifting off, and he understood that, and little things like that. So from there, I extended that to, you know what, Gus, you're going to pick out your outfit, and we're going to start kind of getting dressed. And we did things like that. The beige diet was another thing. Let's introduce this new food today. Is there a sensory issue here? Can he do it? And I joke around in my book, and if you read my book, he ended up falling in love with sushi. I was told this kid would never enjoy a multitude of different flavors, and he's a sushi fan to this day. But it's about finding that daily win and compounding them and getting that improvement on a daily basis. And doing so as a parent with a positive attitude, because the last thing your child needs at all, if you want them to progress, is negativity.
Give me your low point during this whole journey. When did it get dark for you? And maybe it didn't, and that's fine. But I kind of have always talked to people, and they said, oh no, there was always a moment.
Oh, no. There was a moment. So what I want your listeners to understand, my son is on the spectrum. My son has Tourette's syndrome. My son has no hearing, in his right ear. So you have an advantage. It's called a right ear advantage. So he's processing things slower. So he has 3 strikes against him, and he has primary ciliary dyskinesia, which affects his lungs. I will tell you this. I withstood the blow, what I would say, of autism. On the way back from the Cleveland Clinic, and this is documented in my book. I went hardcore Mike Tyson midway through. I thought, I'm against the ropes in a fighting analogy, and I've been getting hit, and it's time to hit back because I'm going to make this kid the best he could be. Then I misunderstood. I heard him constantly verbalizing something. I thought, man, it's an autistic stim, and it wasn't. We realized it was Tourette's. Had to go back. All of these specialists, everything else. So this kid was constantly with the doctors. But somehow Gus fooled the school system for like a 2 to 3 year period with his hearing. When my wife called me and said, you won't believe this, Gus has no auditory nerve. He has no hearing in his right ear. It was and I document this in the book. It was a straw that broke the camel's back. I had to cancel an appointment with a client. I pulled over, and I had the most cathartic meltdown cry you can imagine. I think it was all of that tension building up, and I sat back in my car, and I'm Greek Orthodox. I mean, here's my cross, but I think it's very important to have sometimes a discussion with your maker. And I asked God, like, why? Like, what? I understand one thing, but why all of these things building up in one kid? But I'll say this. My son, as our, your son and anyone that has a child on the spectrum, they're a gift from God, and God chose you for a reason. These children aren't broke. They're special, and you're meant to help them. If God came down today and said, out of all the ailments I gave him, what would you take away? Most people think I would rip away the autism, and I would say absolutely not. I would give my son his hearing. I wouldn't change a minute. I wouldn't change anything. There's a section in the book where, and I'll explain why, but I talk about the Ted Lasso effect. And the reason I touched on that too, I wanted to extract all of the things that Gus has taught me, because Gus is a beacon of light and a beacon of positivity. I think the world would be a better place. They possessed a lot of his characteristics. So when he lost his hearing, that was it for me. I just needed, and I will tell you, and I write about it, even that night, I was teary-eyed. And I walked into his room, and I wanted to give him the dad pep talk. And I said, listen, buddy, Dad's going to be here forever. I love you, and I know you don't have hearing in your right ear. And he stopped. He goes, Dad, I could hear you. He goes, yeah, it's in one ear, but I could hear you. I hear everything you're saying. What are you upset about? And I thought, wow, talk about handling in a positive manner. It really calmed me down. But yeah, that was probably easily my lowest point in the entire journey.
Yeah, and it's it's good that you brought that up, because I think what a lot of people don't realize is they hear autism. I know I made that mistake. I heard autism, but I didn't hear global developmental delay. I didn't hear self-injuring behavior. There was all these other things that came with it, and as you said, and in many ways, some of those things are more challenging on their own at times than some of the characteristics of autism. How old is Gus now?
Gus is 20 years old, and he is a sophomore at Kent State University.
Okay. So, so I bring that up. Everybody always wants to know, like, the book is about you, but obviously you wouldn't be this version of you without Gus. And so you really have that perspective of, Gus being born, pre-diagnosis, diagnosis, and then young adult, teenager, and now here we are, college student. Which that in itself, I know, is going to bring people some hope, and I love hearing that. He's a college student at a great college. That gives me hope for my son. My son is only 6, so I am a lot more immature in the journey than you are. But I love hearing that. But I just wanted to give some context for people that you've been through all the stages of childhood and being a teenager, or your son being a teenager. So I like that, because I think the book is very well developed, how you structure the timeline. Talk about, I really like you bring this fighter mentality, maybe for a lack of a better term, to the book, hence the boxing gloves. I'd like to wonder if this also made you a better non-special needs parent. Did this activate some other things? I always say, for Cal, I have to be a great special needs parent. For my other children who are neurotypical, I've got to be like a really bad special needs parent and give them the things that they're looking for. Did this also hone your skills in being a dad in other areas?
Absolutely. And I think this extends down to my wife, who's amazing, and my son as well. And I think what it taught me as a parent, and I stress this, it's stressed all over in my book, is it really taught me empathy, taught me positivity, really taught me how to connect on a better level. When communicating with Gus, my oldest son, you had to be a little more empathetic. You kind of had to talk to him in a different way. Gus didn't tolerate well if you were ever angry, or he could sense the angst if you were angry or if you were being demonstrative. And I've been in sales. I've read multiple books and taken classes on communication. And really what it taught me is that, negativity, frustration, yelling, even if you're having a bad day, it's all toxicity. It's caustic. So what it taught me with my youngest son, and my youngest son committed to play football next year at Allegheny College here in Meadville, Pennsylvania, nearby. And Max is an edgy jock. But even then, I rarely blow up at either now. You know what I mean? It's taught me to converse with them on a softer level, one-on-one, and ascertain their opinion and shut my mouth and listen more. I've been a better listener. So, and I will say this too, I talk about it, siblings matter. Max is 5'9.5". He's built like a pit bull. He's deadlifting over 400 pounds. He's a strong kid. But the beauty of Max is you have brawn, and you have what his brother has taught him. And Max is a far more empathetic kid, sensitive kid. He's willing to protect anyone he sees getting made fun of or picked on, And it's a beautiful mix now. I don't know if he would have had that if it wasn't for his brother. So Gus has taught us a lot of lessons, but in terms of parenting, he's really taught me to stay positive, listen more, and just communicate on a more empathetic, gentle level.
Yeah, I agree with you on the communication. It's made me a much better communicator, in trying to not so much really understand the other person, but understand myself and the point that I'm trying to get across. And I think what I think is effective. And it's funny, my former career of being on the radio, I would have been so much better at it had Cal been born earlier, because I was really able to learn a lot of skills about communications and about myself and what I was trying to explain. We talked about the 2% rule. I really like that. I think that's something that it's realistic, right? It's not one of these aspects of the book where someone's like, listen, you want to lose weight, don't eat for 60 days. Okay, well, that's, good luck. You're probably right, but I don't know if you'll get there. This is this is something very doable. But I do want to talk about optimism, because help me understand how you've been able to be so optimistic. You have a successful career. You're in great shape. You obviously prioritize your health. Give me something from the book, about being optimistic and how that ties all together. Everybody says be optimistic, but when you have these challenges, and all the challenges in having an autistic son, and really any child with special needs. But give me something about the optimism, how you were able to kind of orchestrate that, or it be the focus of your mind.
So let me emphatically state, and this is a product of growing up around. My parents are amazing. My brother Michael is a both international and national philanthropist. They have bred in us a optimistic, positive gene. I don't know; it's in our DNA. But I was talking about setting the tone in your household, and I'll explain this: the ripple effect. And I thought, as I was writing this, my fear was someone would go, wait a minute, wait a minute. This guy's not a psychologist. So this is all a bunch of psychobabble. So what I honed in on, I wanted to touch on in one of the chapters, was the Ted Lasso effect. It was a master class. It became a national and international phenomenon. And the reason I hone on that show, it changed the way people were leaders. It changed the way people were coaches. I've seen this on the football field and in the dojo, quite frankly. And it's most of all, it changed the way people were parents. And it was proof that if you bring optimism and positivity and you set that tone, and instead of berating and screaming and communicating on a humanistic level, everyone is elevated. So if you think, it's funny, if you go back to the TV show, not only was AFC Richmond, the coach that the team that he was coaching, elevated, the community was elevated. So as a parent of a special needs child, in particular autism, when you wake up in the morning, if you want to wake up angry, ticked off, berating people, screaming, you've set the tone for failure that day or maybe moving forward. I don't do that. So what I'm trying to encourage parents to do is you wake up every day, and if you wake up with the Ted Lasso effect, you wake up with optimism, positivity, that permeates to your spouse, that permeates to your kids, in particular your child, let's face it, who has a struggle on a daily basis. But they're going to be willing to make that fight and make that 2% improvement on a daily basis with someone that's a cheerleader as opposed to a dictator. So I think it's very important to stress that. Now, I'll add in, you mentioned this, and I'm probably going to expand in a second book on this. I am adamant about exercising and clean eating. Part of being optimistic and being able to recharge your battery is taking care of yourself. If you, as a parent, are eating clean, therefore your child is eating clean, and if your child's on the spectrum, neurologically, I assure you, that's going to help them 100% more. Second of all, you need to move on some. I'm adamant about this. Is my wife and I would trade off. I would go for either running. I'm adamant on. I do kettlebell, steel club, steel mace. I go hit the heavy bag. My wife, she does yoga. She loves to read. You need to recharge your battery and be the best version of yourself. And I'm not talking about leaving for 3 hours. It could be a half hour. It could be 15 minutes, whatever it might be. You need to plan that a little bit into your day if you can. And even if it's, like I said, even if it's 15 minutes to meditate, recharge your battery and be the best version of yourself. If you were eating right and you were exercising, you're setting the best example for your child. And right now, I read the latest statistics. 50% of children on the spectrum are obese. I see too much vegetation where they sit in front of a screen and just play games or do something. Get them outside. Get them for a hike. Maybe maybe run with them a little bit. There's something you could do to get their bodies to move too, to optimize who they are as a human being. So a lot of that is reflective in my book. I have to tell you, I'm so adamant about it, though I struggled with one chapter, and I think I'd like to expand that into a second book one day, whenever the time comes.
So that's the physical aspect of it. But like you said, it does affect the mental aspect of it. I mean, I try to get a workout in every day because for me, it helps me more the 6 inches between my ears than my body really. But what about, because you do come from, this is a father's journey, and the book is available now on Amazon, From Struggle to Strength. You cannot miss the yellow boxing gloves. But what about just being a guy? What about being a dude? Do you make the time to go have a beer with your buddies and talk football? I mean, I think that there's something to be said. Is that something that you are able to do and kind of unwind, or does that not check boxes for you?
It was a little more difficult initially when they were younger and we were really in the thick of things when he had not improved to where Gus is at right now. What I did do, I always had University of Pittsburgh sports. I'm considered one of the top sports influencers, University of Pittsburgh. If you go on Twitter, I'm at Pitt Guru. That was like a great outlet because you would run into a lot of your buddies, and you were kind of working at the same time. You would run into him as he's improved and he's better. What's beautiful now is a lot of our big group of friends, we're all together on a regular basis, and Gus is part of that. So I get a chance to sit down and have a bourbon with my buddies, knowing that Gus is probably within that group of families and having a blast at the same time. So it's I will tell you though, I'm not going to lie, that was a little bit more difficult initially. And I really, that wasn't a priority at the time for me. Like my friends knew when we were in the thick of it, it wasn't as easy to get together. That's been a little alleviated as he's older and a little more independent now.
What's your biggest fear moving forward for Gus? I mean, here he is in college, but I just can't imagine a place where the fears one day end. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I'm only 3 years into this, but what's a fear that you have?
I don't want Gus. It's a great, great question, and I've thought about this. Let me say this: the last 2 years in high school, Gus had a 3.8 GPA. He had a group of friends. He drove to school. I don't want to make it sound like it was all la la land, but Michelle and I were high fiving each other. Gus gets to college. He struggled a bit academically, socially. It's been a reminder that life is going to be a marathon and not a journey. So it hasn't been perfect. I don't want him to be alone. So I am big on vision boards. I just am. Gus was home over the weekend. We have mapped out everything. We're going to get our degree. He has a secondary degree he's eyeballing. He wants a Ram truck. He's going to get that. We're going to get him the biggest, baddest Ram truck. And then we're going to get him a job. And then I want to help him find a spouse. And it might sound insane. We literally have mapped all that out, because the worst fear that I have is that the kid's coming home, that he's a young man now, coming home alone, even after a job one day, and he's just by himself. I want him to find someone special. I know actually 2 friends of ours that have children on this, young adults on the spectrum, that recently got engaged, and that gave me a lot of hope. And he's such a great, loving, trusting, caring young man that I think it's definitely doable. And I'm going to help him. I will be there every step of the way. People may think it's crazy hearing that, but we literally mapped all of that out. We do it on a regular basis. But my greatest fear, I want him to find someone special. I don't want him to be alone.
Did you ever think that he, you mentioned in high school, driving to school, and I mean, were these things at one time that you just were like, no way this stuff's going to have? I mean, you really thought that, because like where I am now with my son, and I have to just be honest, my assumption is he'll live at home the rest of his life. Now I say that I'm trying to trick myself, like, oh, I know it's not going to happen, but I'm going to say it to prepare myself. Were you ever at a point where, I don't think Gus will he may not go to high school. He might, I mean, did he just manage to blow your mind year after year?
Well, he did, but I don't talk about any modality other than one. And I guess I might as well mention it because it's in the book. We were really unsure early in high school if he was college material. My thought was maybe we go the blue collar route, maybe find a trade. Like I didn't know what to do. We were questioning it. And that's always a fear. Again, I said this, there's no prescriptive how-to guide. All these children are different. What we discovered here in Pittsburgh was the Brain Balance Institute. And I am a huge advocate for neuroplasticity. You can retrain your brain. You can rewire your brain, excuse me. And Gus walked in. I call it the autistic fog. He was into cars. He would point at cars and look around. And they had given him a series of questions to fill out. And his writing was large, infantile, made no sense. 12 weeks later, after brain balance therapy, and it's based on the works of Dr. Robert Malello. He wrote Disconnected Kids and Reconnected Kids, or 2 books that he wrote. They brought Michelle and I in, and we looked at the same questions, age-appropriate writing. He was with it. He was with us, as opposed to being in the autistic fog, and his answers made sense. And I said, this can't be the same kid. I was astonished. I want to make a note, every modality is different for every child. Gus responded to this we were in tears. It like, I to say it like just went from 0 to 100. I was amazed at where it took him. We had teachers coming to us going, "What did you do? Like, he seems like a different kid." So immediately we plunked down money for 2 more semesters, and it was a game changer for us. It worked for my child. So what I make sure to state that in the book. No, every modality varies for every child. It worked for us. And that was a game changer. And we felt very strongly heading into his junior year that he could go to school and go to college.
How old was he when he was diagnosed?
3.
Okay. So yeah, same as my son. You guys were on it. Who pushed for that more? You, your wife, or was it equal?
Oh, no. My wife's the hero in this. And I have a public apology in the book because now I've been on it hard. The second we got the diagnosis, I was on board. But I say this all the time, and you and I just said it. We're both type A's. I could have fun at an insurance seminar. I would go into a room and light it up. I am high energy. So my thought was, no way does my son have anything that's going to impair him socially. It was our first child. I thought, okay, maybe he's an introvert, because my wife's a lot more quiet than I am. And, she kept saying something's off. And we had 2 birthday parties back to back where he was easily the outlier. And in the second one, Miss Josie, who was our preschool teacher, kind of pulled Michelle aside, and she saw tears welling up in Michelle's eyes and said, "Listen, I've been wanting to talk to you. I love you. You need to know, I think he might be on the spectrum." So that was kind of a game changer. And once we got the diagnosis at the Cleveland Clinic, that's when the light switched for me. And I told my wife, "I'm really sorry. I've been belligerent, pig-headed." She was a warrior. She saw it from the get-go. She's been a warrior ever since. I talk about it in the book. I just talked about brain balance. By the time Michelle was done, she drove over 8,000 miles going from our house here to the middle of Pittsburgh, and which is now, they closed that one. There's a closer one in Wexford, Pennsylvania, but over 8,000 miles going back and forth to brain balance for our son. And my favorite pages in the book, on pages 33 and 34, Michelle and I love the movies Kill Bill. She doesn't like a lot of violent movies, but she loves that series. And I think the reason she loves it, my wife is Uma Thurman, the bride, in that movie. She's a blonde badass. I think a modern day Valkyrie can see another one. And where Uma, cut up people with a sword, Michelle accomplished everything with just unrelenting love. So Michelle was the hero and had to kind of kick me around until I was on board. And that's kind of a big point of the book, is there's a reason this book, and I've been told, by the way, thank God, it's under 150 pages. It's not a pamphlet, but it's not War and Peace. And it's specifically that length. And I wanted the boxing gloves on there for a reason. I wanted a dad that was in my shoes, that was being belligerent, to go, all right, I'll read it. It's a quick 1-day, 2-day read, but it's done intentionally because I wanted to break through that male id, that ego, to kind of break through. And if I could just get through to 10% of those dads, 20%, I think I've done my job.
Yeah, it's I'd say it's an easy read, but everybody says it's an easy read. It is a very casual read. Like I just find myself going, yeah, geez, I've been in that. So, I go back to the Home Depot situation, because I've been in that in a million different stores in that situation. Really, really good. From Struggle to Strength. It is available now on Amazon. Real quick, and I always say, I'm going to talk to you for 15 minutes, and here we are over 30 minutes, and I'm sorry, but you're an engaging guy, and I think you have a lot to offer. I wish this book was around 3 years ago. I really do, because I think there was that time of, and like I said, I call it the autistic dad fog, the autism dad fog, where I just, I was there. I wasn't paralyzed. I wasn't, sleeping under a bed, but it was foggy. I was moving slow. I was like asking the same questions in my mind over and over for days. And I'm like, God, why do you keep asking yourselves the same questions? Just go, go, go. But it was just a little foggy. You have some great reviews on the book. Give me the review that hit you and you're like, wow, yeah, I like that. Thank you. What was the review that you got where you read and you go, sometimes I've talked to authors and they say, yeah, sometimes the reviews actually talk to the author, because the author's so locked in on creating the book and thinking about their experiences, but then somebody else articulates it from a different point of view. And I'm wondering if something kind of grabbed you in one of the reviews you got.
So I'm very fortunate. We launched today, and I think there's like 25 4-star reviews right now on Amazon, which pleases me to no end. But I received, so I have many, many, many Pit fans that follow me, 30 years of a following. So I had one of them message me and said, and I purchased an early copy of your book. And my wife and I decided, apparently in our neighborhood, they had a child that was just diagnosed. And we wanted to learn something about autism. And he went on this diatribe on just that they never knew that at times, like it taught them not to judge everyone. If you see a panicked parent, you and I talked about the Home Depot situation. If you read my book, you'll know about that. Here's me putting hours into my son, but I'm having to put him up over my shoulder to get out of Home Depot, and people think I'm a bad dad. It was so impactful because I specifically thought, okay, this will be for a belligerent dad, newly diagnosed parent, battle tested parent. I forgot people that just want to learn about autism. And he wrote me the most beautiful DM. I'm going to frame it. That came through on Twitter or X, and just that said, "You opened our eyes. We're now open to the situation, more sensitive to the situation. We're going to be less judgmental in public." And I thought, wow, that's a demographic I never expected. And it meant I got choked up. It meant so much to me. And it was one of the first. By the way, I'm new to the book game, so I didn't even know the book was available. So I thought you couldn't get it till today. So he'd already read the book, which that blew my mind.
Yeah.
But to think that this guy out of nowhere read that much into it, and he and his wife got benefit, were benefiting from it, and said, "I think I need to pass this on to a few other people where it's going to help," and recommend it. That was awesome. It blew my mind. There's some beautiful reviews up right now, but that DM meant so much to me. I couldn't believe it.
That's really good and very nice of that person to do that and to take the time and consume what you're writing, what you're communicating, and really think about it, in their own life. So before we wrap up, somebody's listening to this, many people listening, and many people hopefully will buy. They're on their way to buy it, From Struggle to Strength. It's on Amazon right now. Give them something going into the book. Not necessarily a perspective. I don't, people can think what they want to think or go into it, but maybe give them something as they're going to get the book, something to think about, whether it's from you, your story, and something for them to kind of guide them as they're going through the process of getting the book.
I'm going to go that direction, maybe a little bit different direction. I'm going to say this. You said you're 3 years in, right?
Yep.
As you and I have just talked for now 34 minutes, okay? Thousands of kids, for all we know, could be diagnosed. Those parents are in a fog. Those parents are in that proverbial fog, that depression that you and I went through. I tell my kids every day, in the game of life, you either sit on the bench or you play in the game. And I want my sons, both of them, to be MVPs and to help others. My saying is, if you're breathing air, you should be helping others. So when you go into this, do I want it to help you? Absolutely. When you're done, take the knowledge you've learned and help others. In Greek, we call it philotimo. It's called the Greek secret. There's no proper definition, but it's good for the sake of doing good, knowing that it has a ripple effect on the rest of the world. And you ask nothing from anyone else when that happens. My ask is you go tackle this book, ascertain anything you want from it. If there's a crying call, a battle cry that I could give you, go and help others. If you're battle tested, like you and I are right now, there's someone out there right now we can help that needs our help. Make sure to do that. So that's my ask. I'm going to switch it up a little on your question, but I hope that's okay. Go and make an impact. You have one life to live, and legacy to me is everything. Think about your legacy. Don't go home and just sit on the couch. Get involved. There's probably organizations for autism in your community. Get involved and help people.
Those are good words. From Struggle to Strength. The book is out now on Amazon. Harry, you're a great guy. You're a guy's guy, and I'm glad. I'm appreciative of your vulnerable story, and I also just appreciate, from where you come from. For a lot of dads, where, it was interesting to me in the beginning. I kind of was like, I don't really fit in this lifestyle. This isn't for me. And then I thought to myself, well, that's a weird way to think. This is my son. This is life now. This is life. And so I just appreciate where you come from. I appreciate the background. And, I hope more people are inspired by your book to tell their story. No matter what perspective they come from, but you can always relate to somebody, and somebody can always relate to you. And so I appreciate you putting this out there, and it's going to be a lot of fun for the community. From Struggle to Strength, it is out now on Amazon. I appreciate you, Harry.
Thank you so much for having me, and let's riff another time too. Have me on, man. It's been a lot of fun.
I told you guys it was going to be a lot of fun. Harry Paseros, he is the author, From Struggle to Strength. The book is now out on Amazon. It is an awesome read, but really it's got an edge, meaningful stuff. And so we'll definitely have Harry on again. And we'll see you online at dailyautism.com.